What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network. It's Brian Hines back with Alex Barth. A couple hours removed from the practice fields down there at Gillette Stadium for the second open OTA practice to the media, the fifth practice of the OTA session for the Patriots in this offseason program. So we'll jump right into it. What we saw throughout the day, who was there, who wasn't there, and then we also had some upcoming retirement news that we'll touch on for a former Patriot there at the end. But starting with today's practice, big storyline when we were there on Tuesday last week was Drake May. The 4 interceptions, didn't turn the ball over at all today, although he ended his competitive periods with the ball on the ground. But, tough to see from our angle if that was on the center, but some sort of fumbled snap exchange. So no turnovers for Drake May, Barth, which was good, but it wasn't necessarily still the cleanest, most crisp operation. It still looks like offense in May. A lot of young pieces, a lot of new pieces, learning a new offense, right? I would say overall was still pretty inconsistent and, just kind of chunky along the way for most of that, even though there weren't any turnovers from Drake.
Yeah, look, he was better. But he was still a little erratic at times. He missed high a few times, especially early on, and you kind of have that through line where the first 6 passes were intercepted last week, missed early a couple times, missed high a couple times early this week, held the ball a few times, which led to sacks. He just still sort of looks unsure, which isn't to be unexpected with learning a new offense. It's just part of this growing process. If we get in like midway through camp and he still looks this unsure, it's going to be a much bigger issue. But at this point, it's just, this is what he's going through with Josh McDaniels. So I thought he was better. I thought he seemed to kind of register at one point when he was going through it, started feeding Hunter Henry, which is good. Like, that's a good instinct. If you need to get in a rhythm, go to your most reliable guy. That is Hunter Henry. It was Hunter Henry last year. It's going to be Hunter Henry again this year. So I like that approach from him, and we'll see how he continues to improve. Again, this is what I hate about covering OTAs. It's not linear. It's not like training camp where we get to go out there and say, this guy had a bad day yesterday. How does he bounce back? And Mike Reese had reported in between the 2 practices that Drake May, so let's figure out their Tuesday. So I think it would have been Thursday was their next practice. Had a really good practice on Thursday. So it sounds like it's kind of up and down. But it's a step in the right direction. Still got a ways to go, but a step in the right direction.
Definitely. And you mentioned the connections with Henry there. After some inconsistencies, he had a couple bad misses to Kendrick Bourne, one to Kayshon Boutte, I believe. But then he's like, okay, let me find my tight end. Let me find my security blanket. There are money on like those little corner sail routes. You saw a couple of those last year, one to like even Austin Hooper. But, money with those to Hunter Henry. Really, one was really nice anticipatory to the right corner. So you kind of saw him settle down a little bit there. But it's still just taking those steps, right? Not perfect. You're not expecting it to be perfect, but a little bit better from last time. So they'll practice one more time, and then we'll see him Monday next week. So again, there's going to be that little gap in between. We don't get to see how exactly he bounces back, but still look like they're ironing some things out as you would expect in the early stages of the offseason program. Anything from Josh Dobbs backing him up, or we know you had a big Ben Woldridge take last practice. Anything from the other 2 quarterbacks there behind Drake today?
Not much. Dobbs had one nice throw down the field. I thought midway through practice, kind of fit it in a window, but pretty standard. Woldridge is still doing the like miming out the reps. So
yep. Yeah, Dobbs had the one interception. It wasn't really his fault. It bounced.
No, it was
right off.
Right between the numbers on John Giles.
John Giles right up into the air. Miles Battles got the interception. So tough to blame that one on Dobbs. But he too, a couple misses, some high. That seemed to be the both of them were missing high today, and there was some pressure, like some tight pockets, even though they're not in full pads and there's not a full rush, and not like those guys can get touched anyway. But there were some tight pockets, and both Drake and Josh were missing high for most of the day. But speaking of that offensive line, again, you're not really judging the performances here in the spring, even though there was some of those pressures and tight pockets, but more like looking who's lining up where. The left guard spot, really feels like we knew it was going to be an open competition coming in. It still feels wide open. They were still rotating guys in and out. It was Cole Strange at times last week, and now it's Tyrese Robinson and some other guys getting some run there. So this left guard position, Alex, still feels really wide open, even in the second week of OTAs here.
These are not the guys we were talking about, right? Which is kind of interesting.
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
We were talking about Lane Robinson and Cole Strange and City So, who is back today, but it's been Tyrese Robinson. It's been Wes Schweitzer. I would not be surprised if that rotation is continuing behind closed doors. So maybe there has been a Leighton Robinson day, and there has been a City So day, and there has been a Cole Strange day. We just haven't seen it, which again goes to the fact that we are not observing these practices in a linear fashion. But I kind of read it as they're going to get everybody ready. And then when camp starts, and when camp starts, I mean, when the pads come on, not like day one of camp, when the pads come on, it's game on, but everybody's working from a similar foundation. So it really does feel like that one can be won by anybody. I wonder if we get a Jack Connolly day. Now, he was playing some tackle today, but that's a guy that can play guard, has really good size, comes in with good experience from the college level. Like, I wouldn't hate seeing a Jack Connolly day at guard at some point.
And Doug Barone knows him very well from the BC time. So
maybe that's one of the behind closed doors days, so we don't actually see it, but like, mix that in there. Why not?
I am a little surprised with the lack of Leighton Robinson. And again, this is with the caveat that maybe it's behind doors. One of those days we're not there. He's repping, but every time we've been there, like, he's not even with that second offensive line. Like, he's blocking for Ben Woldridge at times. And that kind of surprised me, because I know it was a different regime. Vrabel wasn't made that draft pick, but it did seem like he had some moments down the stretch last year. I know the beginning was up and down with the pass pro and some of the mental stuff for Leighton Robinson, but he seemed to be a little bit more comfortable down the stretch at left guard last year. And now he is behind a lot of these guys. Like, we're seeing Tyrese Robinson and, Jack Conley over him. So that one does surprise me a little bit, but still, again, wide open, rotating a lot of these guys. So we'll see where eventually they want to settle. Would you say that first like full padded practice of training camp is when I feel like we're back to last year now, when we want to pick an offensive line to settle down with? Like, is that your ideal spot to say, like, okay, this is the 5 we at least want to, start with for a few weeks here in that first padded practice?
You know what? I feel like we kind of, outside of guard, we kind of know what that line is. And if you have a competition at guard at that point with the other 4 spots, that's not ideal, but it's manageable. Like, last year, it was all 5 guys. Well, Andrews was in there, but the other 4 spots were all rotating constantly. If you have 4 of those guys set by the time you get to that point and you're figuring out the guard, you can live with that. And it feels like those 4 should be set, right? Yeah. Morgan Moses was more involved today, so he's making progress off that knee injury. Mike Onwenu's still limited, but he's going to be a right guard. We know that. It seems like it's going to be Garrett Bradbury at center. Maybe Jared Wilson pushes him, but the fact he's limited right now makes me think that might be a little down the road. And then Will Campbell's the one guy who really hasn't moved. Like, Will Campbell at left tackle, that's been locked in there. So, yeah, if they have 4 of the 5 set by the time they get to full pads, I'd say they're in good shape.
Yeah, which seems like they're trending in that direction. But yeah, it's been Campbell and Bradbury. The 2 have just been cemented in there. And then it's going to be Onwenu and Morgan Moses, those 2 guys, just with Moses coming back from injury and Onwenu just letting him heal up limited. Seems like they do have 4 of those 5 set. But pass catchers, I think the highlight of the day, Kyle Williams, rookie, 3rd-round pick. Beautiful kind of over-the-shoulder bucket catch down the right sideline, 35, 40 plus yards from Josh Dobbs. Nice throw from Josh Dobbs there. So got separation from Miles Battle. So again, 2 practices here. I know no pads, no contact. He's not getting pressed at the line of scrimmage, but Kyle Williams has been able to separate. You're seeing that. They've been finding ways to get the football in his hands, which I think is exciting, because we both talked about a lot, even leading up to the draft, like what he can do when you put the ball in his hands as a runner. But I think the separation is encouraging. And you saw that with that, big explosive down the sideline where, again, he made a nice catch today.
Yeah. I mean, let's start though with the release. I mean, he cooked Miles Battle off the line, and then, is able to haul one in over the shoulder. The thing with Kyle Williams, to me, you know me, like, I like to be careful about, all right, speed receiver, non-padded practices. He's in his element. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but he's been out there a lot. Like, he's working with Drake May a lot. And I don't think that's going to be something that they're doing if they aren't seeing what they want to see. So whether it's something on the field, whether it's something in the meeting room, in the film room, whatever, like, they clearly are happy. From my view, it seems like they're clearly happy with what Kyle Williams is doing. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but it does seem like they maybe like what he's done. And so that in itself is an encouraging sign. It's not everything, but it's an encouraging sign.
Yeah. And they are down, Diggs isn't there. Mac Hollins is there, but not participating still. And Polk is doing individual drills. It feels like that could still be working back from that shoulder surgery. Like when they go team, he's working off to the side with Riley Larkin still running routes. So they're down 3 receivers when they go to those competitive 11-on-11 situations. But still, like, it's not Javon Baker or some of these guys who were here last year. Like, it is Kyle Williams getting up there and getting some serious run with Drake May. So that's encouraging to see just at this point of the offseason that he is out there. But receivers elsewhere, Kendrick Bourne, your guy, was maybe the most active today with Drake May, like exclusively with Drake May. I think my numbers were like 3 catches on 6 targets. They had a couple misses, but Bourne's a guy who, you look, is they're going to keep 5, they're going to keep 6, or they're going to keep 7? Is Bourne on the outside looking in? Like, he's been out there running a lot with Drake, and he was very active today. Their most active wide receiver today with Drake.
People are writing him off. I'll tell you again, don't write him off. I don't think it's a guarantee he makes the team, but like, he has good chemistry with Drake May. Him and Josh McDaniels know each other very well. He does things the way Josh McDaniels wants them done. He's very much in the mix. If anything gets him, I mean, obviously coming off the knee injury, how well is he moving? But it's going to be 30 in August. Do they just want a younger group? He's looked better outside of Pop Douglas, he's looked better than any of the young guys to this point, and it's still very early, but don't write him off just because, he's been here for a while and they seem to be moving on from the guys who've been here longer. And he's one of the longer tenured players on the team, oddly enough, but like, don't write him off. Like, he can still play. And at the end of the day, they need to keep the guys in the receiver room who can play.
Yep. And he looks more comfortable, I feel. And you don't expect that, reuniting with Josh McDaniels and being back in that offense. And now that he's also healthy and he's on the field, right? So he can get those reps, unlike last year when he was rehabbing from that torn ACL. So he does look a little bit more comfortable, and you're seeing that in the involvement there. We mentioned Javon Baker. It was kind of a weird day for him. He had a nice catch over the middle from Josh Dobbs. And then he had a couple incompletions his way. And then he ended the day with, it was a nice catch from Ben Woldridge down the field, but it was, I think, pretty clear OPI. It looked like he pushed off, and then he was celebrating afterwards and kind of trotting his way over to the sideline and missing Mike Vrabel yelling at him to get back in the huddle. And he eventually got back in the huddle. And then, when his reps were done, you saw Mac Hollins talking to him on the sideline. And then after practice, Vrabel sought him out and they walked to the locker room together. So you see the ability at times with Javon Baker. Like, he is a good athlete, and you see that, but that's still the mental stuff that we've been talking about for so long with him, is like, that side has to click if he wants to not only make this team, but then be a contributor on this team. So that, I thought, was an interesting part of Javon Baker's kind of up and down day today, because he did make 1 or 2 nice catches before that, but to see Vrabel talking about him, like, just goes back to that mental side of things for Javon Baker. So anything from him, or did anyone else in that wide receiver room stand out to you today?
Well, for Baker, I would just say, it's going to be a roller coaster with him. He's probably the only wide receiver that's working a good amount with all 3 quarterbacks, which tells me that they're really unsure, good or bad. They're unsure in what they have in him, this coaching staff, and they really want to get a look at him, and they're not exactly sure where to slot him. Eventually those reps will be trimmed, and we'll see. Do they come out of the Drake May portion, or do they come out of the Ben Woldridge portion? That'll be very telling, but he's got to show he can buy in. And this is a guy that's been very inconsistent. And this is where, I wish we go out tomorrow or whenever the next practice is and see, okay, does he learn from what happened? And we're not going to get that opportunity, unfortunately, but that would be the big question. That's probably the big question for the coaching staff. Other receivers, man, Efton Chisholm is just so smooth. So smooth, such
He's
a
fun to
natural
watch.
mover. It is. I think he's going to make this team. I think he's going to make this team, and in some way, shape, or form. Maybe he's on the practice squad initially, but like, I think he's going to be here. And it's everybody made the joke during the draft that he's such a Josh McDaniels guy, and it was kind of obvious. But like, he is such a Josh McDaniels guy. It is very obvious. It's true.
It's so fun to watch him run routes, just like no wasted movement, so quick. And Taylor and I were talking, like, even his hands, like the ball hits his hands and they just don't move. Like, he is so efficient in everything he does. He had another 4 targets today, all from Joshua Dobbs. So I'd like to see at some point, does he get elevated and maybe work with Drake May? But he caught 2 of those. The other 2 he was open and Josh Dobbs sailed it, and then another was batted down at the line of scrimmage. So really all 4 targets, he was open, and you're continuing to see like the good route running, the quickness in and out of breaks. So we joked about the Josh McDaniel stuff, but he is to a T a Josh McDaniel slot receiver. So he's stacking some good days when we've been out there, and we can keep the UDFA trend going. Like Lan Larison in the running back room, again, working more with Josh Dobbs and Ben Woldridge and Travion Henderson and Antonio Gibson, and a limited Ramondre Stevenson was back today, all above them, but couple checkdowns, like 3 or 4 checkdowns out of the backfield, and you just see that smoothness and the ability to be a pass catcher out of the backfield. So both of those UDFAs have continued to be busy. They're involved in special teams. So both of those guys, like there's a path to the roster there, and it'll be interesting over the, we have 1 more OTA practice, 3 days of mandatory mini camp, and then once we get into training camp, if those guys can start kind of climbing the depth charts, and play with more of those guys, you assume the Drakes and guys who are at the top of the depth chart there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, Larison looks good. He's explosive.
Yep. Anything from Travion Henderson there in the backfield, or, as I said, Ramondre was back, very limited as you would imagine. We saw a little bit more Antonio Gibson, but anything from Henderson kind of stand out in that backfield to you?
He's very involved. It's another guy that's very involved, and they're using him. They're using him with a lot of 2 running back sets, and they clearly have a plan for him. I think I said this on the show the other day. I said it on a show the other day. Like, Josh McDaniels, notoriously, it's a slow burn with the rookie running backs. He'll ease them in, and the usage now is not what it's going to be in September, which is not what it's going to be in December. So the fact that he's already as involved as he is, I think, is a good sign.
Agreed. And then not too much else from the offense. We mentioned Hunter Henry at the top there. No Austin Hooper today, so a little bit more from Jack Westover. Jaheim Bell had a nice catch going up the seam. So anything else just in general from the offense from your point of view?
That Jaheim Bell catch was a nice one. And we got to see some more of the 3rd string tight ends with Austin Hooper not there today. So, him, CJ Dupree got some reps. There's one I think he should have caught that he didn't catch. Jack Westover continues to be very involved. So,
yeah,
that'd be my take.
Wasn't a great performance from Dupree as a pass catcher, but he's not here as a pass catcher, right? If he makes the team, he's going to be a run blocker. So, wait for the pads to get on for him to make an impact there. But let's go over to the defense. We'll start up front with the defensive line. A lot of Milton Williams today, even though there's no pads. Like, he seemed to be in the backfield a lot. He had a batted pass. So that front, it's basically every time it's Keon White and Harold Landry. Sometimes, you have Chase on in there on the edge, and then Barmore and Milton Williams up the middle. Like, they're going to be aggressive, and it looks like a pretty terrifying front. And again, we don't have pads on, so we'll see, but those guys have been active, and they've been all over the place for a couple practices here.
I thought the entire front, Milton Williams, Joshua Farmer had a really good day. Anthony Jennings was super active in this practice. I thought everybody up front had a good day. Now, again, it's without the pads on, so it's a pretty massive caveat, but you're starting to see the puzzle come together up there.
How do you like Keon White? He's been almost exclusively on the edge, and, you figure you have Milton Williams and Christian Barmore on the inside, so there's not going to be much playing time on the interior there. You hope with those 2 guys being out there a lot. So how do you feel about Keon White if they do kind of make him a full-time, or, maybe 75% of his snaps are coming along the edge there?
I've always liked him as an edge player. I always and look, it's convenient that he can kick inside and passing downs, and that helps, but they don't need him to. And I just think he's got such good closing ability that it plays really well on the edge. So I like it. I like them using him as an edge guy. I wouldn't even hate him standing up a little bit. It's probably not going to happen in this defense just because of the way they run things, but I like him on the edge. I do.
Yep. I also wonder if like only having responsibilities at one spot, or because he was bouncing back
Right.
and forth so much, like if just having responsibilities at one spot can kind of help him and maybe slow the game down a little bit, because he would get lost out on the edge at times as as a run defender, and his pass rush repertoire was definitely better against interior linemen. So maybe just things, he can settle down on the edge, and that'll help him kind of slow down and take his game to another level. He got Will Campbell once. They've been really fun to watch, and I can't imagine what those practices or those 1v1s are going to look like when the pads come on. Like those are going to be really fierce, feisty competition. So he got him once for what would have been a sack. So Keelan White kind of could be a big wild card in this defense, and it looks like that's going to come along the edge from what we've seen so far. But behind them, Robert Spillane is all over the place. I feel like he is very active, flies to the ball. Christian Ellis playing a lot off of him, but Bob Spillane, man, like you see how he racks up 140, 150 tackles each of the last 2 years, because he is all over the place on the second level of that defense.
Yeah, he's flying around a lot. He's got really good instincts, and it'll be fun to watch him once they could actually hit a little bit.
Yeah, and he mentioned like he loves to play behind aggressive defensive lines. Like there you go.
Well,
put Milton,
that's what he's got.
Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. Like that's as aggressive as you're going to get. So you need a guy to, if those guys are penetrating up front, like there's going to be times where they shoot wrong or they miss, and like you need a guy behind them. Like that looks like that could be Bob Spillane there, because he is all over the place. So he was around the ball a lot today. Christian Ellis next to him a lot. In that linebacker room, we saw a little Marte Mapu along the second level. Finally, Marte Mapu linebacker seems
linebacker,
like finally. So that's interesting. We'll see how that continues to play out. But do you like anything else from that second unit, or you can go back to the secondary? No Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Jalen Hawkins. No Carlton Davis today. Looked like he was on vacation. So anything else from that back half of that defense that caught your eye?
Greg Woodson had a really good day. Just sticky in coverage, and even the one Jaheim Bell caught on him, like I don't think there was anything more he could do. So another guy, instincts really stand out and just seems to be in the right place at the right time, which goes a long way at safety.
Yeah, he's just always around the ball, and that's especially for a young player, you can kind of measure how he's picking things up, and Peppers complimented him for how smart he is as a player. So just the fact that he's around the ball a lot is encouraging at this point. He almost had an interception on one of, I think it was Drake, kind of sailed to pass, and Woodson was in the area and almost had an interception. And then, going back to that Bell catch that you mentioned was in really tight coverage there. So good to see Woodson maybe make an impact sooner rather than later there in the secondary. Someone did in the chat say, what about Marcus Jones? He was opposite Christian Gonzalez at times today on the outside, because again, Carlton Davis wasn't there. So that was kind of interesting, right? And they had Alex Austin in the slot. You figured those two would be flip-flop.
Well,
but
I think getting Alex Austin reps in the slot is important, because we know they want a bigger slot, and they don't really have anybody behind Marcus Jones in a contract year. So if Austin can become your slot corner, and it's Gonzalez, Davis, and Austin, if Jones moves on, that's great. And then even with Jones in the picture, like if Alex Austin can be your third boundary corner and backup slot corner, that probably saves you a roster spot. So it in the short term and long term, it's good for them to find out if Alex Austin can play in the slot and just get him reps there and see, what he can do in that position.
Yeah. And also like Carlton Davis, not the most, how do I want to phrase this? Not the most.
He's not. He plays at least 12 games every year, but there's a reason the number's not higher than 12. He'll be out there most of the year, but they're going to need somebody for about a month at some point.
If history repeats itself, he's not going to play a full season, because he's never done it. Like he's going to miss a couple games. So the fact that you might have some contingency plans there early here, try to maybe figure those out. Maybe not the worst thing to have to play around with on May 28th there in the second week of OTAs. So Austin in the slot, Marcus Jones for Don there, who asked, playing a little outside opposite Christian Gonzalez. So not as much testing of Christian Gonzalez today there from Drake May. Probably a smart thing. Stayed away for him for most of the day. But anything else on the defensive side of the football there for you?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, then we'll wrap up special teams. We had another kick period. It was tough to tell again with them kicking on the opposite upright, but from what we gathered, Parker Romo went 4 for 4. He led off things, and Andres Borregales went 3 of 4. We had him working right between like 37 and 53-ish yards. Again, Borregales' miss was about from like 47 and went wide left, hook wide left. Parker Romo had one that like just snuck in the left upright too, and got in there. So 4 for 4 for Parker Romo, 3 for 4 Borregales. Anything? What'd you see from those kickers out there today?
That miss from Borregales was pretty wide. So he had one that he missed hit last week and still made it, and then he had that. So little bit to work through there for him. But it was close on Parker Romo's end too. So I don't think that, the tide shifting or anything. I still think it's Borregales' job.
Yeah. And then he came back, he missed from about 40, 45, 47 and came back and buried a 53-year. So good short memory there. For Borregales, and, things still seem like you would lean in his favor, especially as a draft pick at this point. So that was special teams, good snaps again too. We always have to shout out Julian Ashby, unless he makes a mistake, but through 2 practices, 2 field goals, good snaps.
I will say they were punting before practice. There were only 3 punts, but it looked like a live period. I had the stopwatch out. Behringer, the first one was 5.5 seconds and it went out of bounds at the 6.
He's been booming.
Excellent punt. Yeah, kind of mishit the next one, but I wonder if that was the way he kicked it. I kind of wonder if it was the coaches telling him like, hey, can you put this in play? And that was a little under 4 seconds on the hang time. Then he had another 5-second one that got downed after that.
He had one that like hit in the corner, and then it like took such a big bounce. It like bounced down the stairwell where the players walk up and warm up.
That was not during the live period. That was during warm-ups. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that was a good one.
It just, the ball is literally booming off his foot. You can hear it when he's kicking. So maybe we got a year 3 breakout for Bryce Behringer there. But there's your special teams update. Anything else attendance wise? Do you have anything on Diggs that you want to get off your chest or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I just Vrabel talked about it, and I thought he hit the right tone. My big thing is, as long as he shows up and performs, right? These guys, we know NFL players enjoy themselves, and we don't know. I saw Doug Kai pointed out something interesting on Twitter. Do we know where that video is from?
No, do we know that it emerged?
Do we know that it's recent?
I mean, technically, no, I guess, right?
Right. But so, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns there. I don't mean to excuse it. And it's, look, if you're going to have, we don't know what he had, but if you're going to be partying, you probably, whatever you're doing,
on a boat in Miami with girls,
right? You don't want so many cameras around. But we know guys in the NFL party. We know that. Show up. Like if he puts up 1,200 yards this year, that video is going to be a funny punchline. If he just doesn't look right at the start of the season, that video is going to be one of the most talked about things around this team. So if he shows up and he looks good, again, guys in the NFL enjoy themselves. We know that. Whether you think that that's right or wrong morally is another conversation, but there are guys that do that in their spare time and are still really good players. So that's kind of where I'm at for it. Like Mike Vrabel said, make good decisions. If he's blowing off rehab and blowing off practice to do that, it's not a great idea. If it's something where he had an off day, if he's still in shape, like, I don't know, it is what it is.
And the most obvious Instagram stories today, he was posting all of his workouts today. I think he had like 7 or 8 videos up of him getting his workouts in. I will say, like, he is very consistent. It looks like from the workout videos, like that he is working very hard on this rehab. We knew he was in Foxboro Thursday for last week's OTAs. So, I mean, you nailed it. Like NFL players, they do this stuff. They party, they have fun, they have lots of money. They can travel to Florida, Miami in the split second.
Right. And especially Diggs, like he's not your average NFL player. He's a beyond sports celebrity.
Yeah. He's dating Cardi B, right? Like he's dating a celebrity. So my biggest thing is like, why are you recording this? And like, why are we letting a video out? And you can see it in the video. Like he looks up a split second, like right at the camera. Like that's my biggest thing. If we're going to be doing this, we don't need to be recording this and letting the video come out. Like go have your fun, but don't let it leak all over the internet. That's where I kind of that's my kind of take on it. So, but we'll see. Mandatory mini camp is 2 weeks. So
2 weeks,
we'll see if he's back in attendance at that point. But any last thoughts, or we'll wrap this up?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Make sure you go follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for more OTA coverage. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for more OTA Patriots coverage there as well. I will also ask anyone who is listening to the show that will please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button to the YouTube channel, where you can find our show and tons of other Patriots content videos, tons of stuff up on the channel. So please make sure to, again, subscribe and turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops or whenever we are going to go live. We'll be back next week at some point. We have OTAs on Monday, so we'll be back
Monday. Yeah, we'll be back Monday.
We'll be back Monday to break down the third and final open OTA to the media, and we will see everyone then. So again, thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys next week.